Hi, everybody. Welcome to Next to Media. I'm Mike Shields. I have two guests this week. We have George Karalexis he's a co-founder and CEO of TEN2 Media, and his colleague Donna Budica, who is the co-founder and COO of TEN2 Media. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you for having us.
So I think we should probably just start at the top because you guys are focused in the YouTube creator business ecosystem, but I think we should probably just explain your backgrounds maybe and what TEN2 Media is all about, and then get into what's going on these days. So maybe George, will start with you.
Cool. Yeah, my background is pretty interesting. I actually started my career as a professional musician signed to Island Records.
Really?
Right after high school. Yeah. And I toured, moved to Europe, did the whole thing, realized being a professional musician was not for me.
Not an easy life, right? Not an easy gig.
Not an easy gig. Early 2000s punk rock, touring in a Sprinter van on European roads was not ideal.
Oof.
Got into music management and expanded and built a company with some of my partners where we focused on the management, marketing, production of events, and ultimately ticketing. So my background's very all over the place. Been an entrepreneur basically my entire life. And then how we got to this business, and then I'll hand it to Donna, is around COVID, we realized that there was this big opportunity around YouTube where artists, creators, anybody who had a fan base that they wanted to communicate with had to become a content creator. Some were good, right? Some weren't. And then YouTube had just started rolling out shorts, and they became, right, this like super app, multi-format app platform that we realized in the music space in particular was really underserviced. And it was an opportunity to start a business to fill a gap that was needed in the market.
I want to come back to you on that business and the gaps you saw, but maybe Donna, just jump in here. Your background, how you guys came together and
So my background is the polar opposite, but we ended up in the same place. I'm an immigrant kid. I grew up in Philadelphia. I studied finance at Wharton. Very traditional kind of straight edge educational background, got my MBA, and loved pop culture growing up. So did my sister. So I just decided to kind of do cold outreach to see how I could get my start in entertainment. And I ended up with a finance degree working at CAA for one of the partners there in motion picture, lit, and talent. And then kind of went from there and tried to explore the various aspects of entertainment industry, including music, including brand strategy, and then ultimately became an entrepreneur. Started my first company with my sister. And then we had met, my sister introduced us actually, and saw the opportunity and just decided to explore the space, launch the company, and it grew from there.
It's interesting. You get into the movie division of CAA, you probably think like you've made your career, and then obviously the world and then the industry has changed a million different ways since then. But that's a fascinating path. Okay, so let's go back to your COVID. You obviously, creators had been on YouTube for a while, but I think you're talking about a range of folks probably that needed to figure out their strategy there, and then the shorts opportunity. What's a maybe typical example of a somebody that needed your help where you saw the gap?
I think where we saw the gap was in the traditional music space. People just treated YouTube as a place to host music videos, right? And
Vivo is big. You throw that up. My job's done, kind of here.
Yeah, there you go. Like, hey, I spent a lot of money on a music video that traditionally would have gone to MTV, VH1, etc. Now it's on YouTube, and they just put it up and they forget about it, right? And it had this stigma that they pay, shitty rates. No one actually knows what's going on, et cetera, right? That was kind of the YouTube stigma. COVID, everyone has to find a way to communicate. And when you think about TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, they all are an interesting way to communicate with your audience. YouTube's the only platform that actually pays you for your content in a meaningful way. And then if we're talking about storytelling and brand development, YouTube's the ultimate platform for that. And as they rolled out short form, really doubled down on live streaming, memberships, all the various ways to engage with your audience, we realized like, wow, this is the opportunity. No one's talking about it. In music, everyone's focused on Spotify. Creator world, everybody's focusing on brand deals on TikTok. Let's build a business fully vertically integrated where we hyper focus on YouTube and the video content that comes from it.
And Donna, what was maybe missing? Because there are companies out there who service the YouTube ecosystem, but they probably don't have the same kind of specialization, and they're probably reaching creators at different stages or from different genres. Like, what was kind of missing that folks were looking for?
I think the fundamental through line of our company is that we have founders who've been musicians, who've been artists, I was a music manager, I was an independent artist, and just generally the constellation of experience that we as founders and the ethos and mentality and experience that we bring is quite unique, because being an artist, understanding the business of music and also the business of YouTube at that intersection is a competitive advantage in itself.
Right.
And I think that our ability to be able to speak informatively about what the artists are doing, about how to understand music marketing on the platform in particular, and hyper focusing on this particular platform, is something that has helped us grow.
So I imagine this varies widely depending on how long an artist has been active and what stage in the career. But what do they? Yeah, I'm going to guess some artists don't feel natural in terms of interacting with a community. Maybe they care about making money on YouTube. Maybe some don't. What are they looking for from versus a typical, like a born on YouTube creator? How do you help them unlock value?
Good question. So, I want to go back to something Donna said, is when we realized how we're going to unlock the full value is we have another partner who had a very successful company called Studio 71.
Sure.
And Reza allowed us to really dive and understand the full potential of YouTube beyond music and marketing. And the three of us really put together an interesting kind of point of view. And then we brought on our CTO, who was previously at Studio 71 for 11 years. And we realized that if we built a value chain and technology that would allow us to track, because user-generated content is such a big part of YouTube for not only musicians, but anyone, sure, right? And then leveraging the CMS, because we have a few content management systems from Google that allow us to distribute and monetize that content. Then when we start unlocking value, it goes beyond just a video. We can track, leveraging Content ID and the tools that we have built, how people are creating with a song, right? And how that might influence new content. Or should we spin out a second channel that looks like a fan channel, but we manage it in a way and monetize it from a premium standpoint that looks like it's natural. It might not be the artist. So like you said, an artist might not be a natural creator, but they have incredible songs or they have great content from a tour, etc. So we've built all these tools like lyric video generators, UGC, tracking, all these tools that help us better understand how the audience is engaging beyond the YouTube channel. And then we take that, our team then leverages the strategies and understanding how YouTube works to increase their surface area on the platform, which leads to discovery and ultimately revenue. And when it works, some of our bigger clients, we've seen like 5 to 7x revenue lift, right? These guys are making, millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars on the platform. And then others are able to create a sustainable business. If you're an independent artist, we have many artists who are earning almost 7 figures a year because of the way that we're collaborating with them.
And I don't know if you can give us examples. Are these artists that we would all know, or are they more like different career or trajectories, or different moments where this is big money to them to be building a business?
All over the gamut. Everyone from legacy artists, because we collaborate with big management companies and like private equity firms that own like every artist you would know, to major record labels, all the way down to independent artists you've never heard of. So I think what Donna, as the operator of the company, has done a great job is we built like a genre agnostic point of view that works from everything from like a country artist to Christian music to hip hop. And we've had tremendous success. I mean, we had over 60 number one videos on YouTube since we launched in 2022, 23. Yeah.
Don, I'm definitely not a music copyright expert, but I know, I understand there are issues in terms of protecting people's music on YouTube, but also wanting to encourage fan involvement and proliferation of their stuff, right? How much of that is a focus for you guys, if at all? And what is the state of policing YouTube for versus promoting that kind of thing, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, one of the core things that we do is protect the IP rights of artists.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean discouraging necessarily fans from utilizing that IP, but it does mean that we're able to monetize that content, because as it proliferates and as fans create UGC, we're able to identify that IP and allow the artists to monetize at a higher level.
Okay. My mind goes a couple different directions here. Can this, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, can this playbook be applied to other categories, other types of creators beyond musicians? And then can this also be applied beyond YouTube to Reels, TikTok, other platforms? I don't know who wants to take one of those, maybe in order.
Good question. Yeah. So, we do have, some non-music clients, and it works, right? Cause it's basically, I think what we've done a really good job is understanding like what's your superpower or what is your competitive advantage as a creator, a musician, a storyteller, whatever it might be. And it's figuring out a strategy that leverages that brand to tell a unique, message and have your unique point of view. So, and I think when you have that and you have an aesthetic and you have a point of view, even if it's not music, you stand out, right? Because we're in content overload. I think, and Donna would love your take here, when it comes to TikTok and Instagram, TikTok's like a viral platform that maybe is predictable, but it feels like every few months it's constantly evolving, right? Like
it's less follow consistent patterns of viewership, follow your favorite creator kind of thing.
Yeah, it's more about like the actual video versus the creator, right? Like it's like it doesn't make sense. And Instagram is cool, but we kind of say that Instagram's like a fashion magazine or like Rob Report, where it's like pretty pictures, aspirational lifestyle, and that kind of stuff tends to work well. It's also like a sound off kind of platform. Right. Yes, you can tag music, but every time, I mean, if you're like on a subway or in public, people are like doom scrolling on on Instagram with the sound off. So it's a different type of way to engage, Do
you, how much, Donna, or how are you guys living and dying by what's going to happen with TikTok? Is it something you just kind of have to press ahead with, not worry about? Or like, what's the state of thinking?
I think anything in media, if you're blindly living in a silo, it's not really the way to go. Yeah. But I mean, the beauty of this platform, of YouTube in particular, is that it has a whole host of touch points, right? It's basically a super app that is an aggregation of long form, short form, still imagery, UGC that you can identify and aggregate. And it's just, it's much more trying for dissemination of various types of content, various formats of content, and to be able to really build a narrative from a brand standpoint, whether artists or not, to be authentic on the platform and really build a community around your own brand and build the brand and grow the brand.
You hear different things about shorts and short form in general. You hear some creators they don't love it. It's they like the long form aspects of YouTube. They like the fact that it's on television a lot of times. Yeah. Is that matter to your clients a whole lot? Is it vary, what they're looking for?
Yeah, I think that good question. I think that it matters because if you're not creating short form, you're pretty much left in the dust at the moment, like in terms of like discovery. I think that creators and musicians tend to gravitate towards long form because the revenue generation, the CPMs are, 10, 20 times higher.
Have a little more, feels like you have a little more control maybe.
Yeah, totally. And now with TV, like you hinted, that's a huge opportunity to just engage and connect. And you have a more engaged audience than on a phone, that I think you miss out on with short form. But I think it's actually really important. You have to be in it. It's just the present and the future of content. So you have to be able to tell these bite-sized stories or, right, get your point across, in a short vertical format. Otherwise, I think it's like really difficult for you to find new audiences.
And at the end of the day, there's something to be said about this kind of multi-format aggregator platform. And the aspect that we always go back to is there's a level of authenticity that's mandated in the content that you're creating. If you gravitate towards long form, we're not saying like leave out short form because then that isolates and gets rid of an entire audience that's their dominant.
Right. That seems like a mistake. Yeah.
It's about knowing user behavior and knowing your audience behavior and then leaning into what's authentic for you and also knowing that the data is telling you something about who's consuming your content and looking at that in an informed way.
Even if you might be saying, well, I'm not making any money on this. Like, why do I want to do this? I'm sure that is a question you get. There's a lot of different reasons for doing that. And that if done well, everything ties together to a place where you have a little more predictable model, I guess.
Yeah. Because, we're not saying it doesn't happen, but typically if you're like after brand deals, you're doing that stuff on Instagram and TikTok, right? Yeah. So it's like you create content either for a brand, or you try to gain an audience to attract brands. I think on YouTube, like Donna hinted, it's just one component of the larger ecosystem. You could still do brand deals. You could still generate money. We have, creators and artists who have 7-figure a year businesses just off shorts because of the reach and the RPM, CPM that we're able to get. Granted, they're getting billions of views.
Yeah.
But they are making money where that same content lives on Instagram and TikTok and they're earning zero from it. So that's pretty interesting.
That is wild. I wonder, this is a little bit of this. I'm somehow I got into my algorithm is giving me all stand-ups on Reels, which I enjoy, but it seems good for these guys, Jim Gaffigan and Nate Bargatze, those guys, but I don't know if they're making any money in there, and I don't know if anyone's figured that out. But I imagine there's a lot of those kind of questions being asked across this business.
Yeah.
When it comes to brands, it's hard to generalize again, but so many of them have tried to glom on to popularity of particular artists, whether it's at events or trying to do marketing partnerships, getting them in their ads, not always easy. Are they doing enough with music artists? Is there a way for companies like you to help them crack this universe in a different way? Like, is it still underutilized besides I'm just going to run some ads on Vivo or figure out a way to do an event with somebody?
Yeah, I think it's really underutilized. I think that when you look at YouTube and you look at the tools like GAM and you look at live streaming and long form and the ability, like the analytics to really hyper target, I don't think it's like brands and artists and even maybe creators a little more, but artists have really reached their full potential. 5-10 years ago, the MCN world, people were trying to aggregate as much viewership as possible to sell and cross sell. But I think like the bigger artists don't want to be a part of that conversation. They want to make sure that if an ad is running or there's a buyout on the channel, it's kind of on brand for them. And I think now, there's a really compelling case, honestly. Like, we have some really like interesting brand partnerships with artists where you're able to offer short form, long form. We'll do like live streaming, and it's a really interesting way to engage. And then obviously what artists have that creators and like actors don't have, if they're on tour, you can create like a literally format opportunity with like the tour, physical streaming, and it's very interesting.
Donna, we talked about how, YouTube has become this force on television the last couple of years. The creators are getting more attention. You see some of these guys getting deals with the big streamers. What does Hollywood think of YouTube right now? Like, are they still is there still like that's a dismissiveness? Are they, and again, it's hard to generalize, but like these creators are in our way and they're not really real media, or is that evolving quickly?
I don't want to make any blanket statements about.
I love blanket statements. Yeah.
But genuinely, the reality is that I myself, from the time that I was working at CAA and having watched the evolution of even the departments and categorization of the way that people were approaching like the creator space, digital world, very quickly it evolved. I still think from like a film and maybe entertainment standpoint, it's not shunned whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I think, like anything else in media and entertainment, if you don't embrace how things are evolving, you're left behind. And YouTube, I think, is a prime example of that because of the rate at which consumption, especially on television, is becoming much more ubiquitous. It's becoming much more accepted. And the type of content also on the platform is evolving very rapidly to mimic kind of OTT. So again, without making blanket statements about the way the industry approaches it, I think it's rapidly evolving and very quickly kind of becoming the norm.
George, Donna, both of you, what do maybe people not understand about the modern artist community and where things are trending? If you're only someone who maybe follows the music industry from afar, and then at the same time, what do people just not understand about this YouTube ecosystem that they should?
So the trending of where artists are going and streaming,
the music business that we should be thinking about.
Yeah, like it's interesting because if you read the data and kind of the industry reports, independent music is eating into major label market share, right? Traditionally, if you didn't have access to a record label, there was this massive barrier to entry. When I was in my band, we were burning CDs and handing them out because
that was the only way to get out there at the time.
That was the only way to get out there.
Yeah.
No distribution. Now you're watching the market share eat. The problem is, so they've democratized reaching fans. Now there's just too much content, content overload, 100,000 songs a day, something crazy like that come out.
And that's just in that universe, forgetting about whatever else is going on.
Just in that universe, which is insane, right? So I think the present and the future is you really now have to have a point of view more than ever, because standing out now is really hard. In Spotify, YouTube, all of these streaming platforms, I can literally listen to any song that's ever been created whenever I want, however I want. So there's not this, Dawn and I were talking about this sense of urgency that I have to stand in line, buy a CD. It's a limited edition. I can't hear it. I have to go to my friend's house to listen to it. And I think what that's done is you're seeing less superstars. Although last year we had an odd number of huge breakthrough artists, right? Like, I don't know if you caught the Grammys, but it was the best new artist category.
Very competitive, really compelling. Yeah.
Man, for the first time, you're like, wow, every single one of these artists is unbelievable. And I could see standing out for a long time. So I think standing out is super hard. The competitive nature of in a record label signing an artist, because, we work with independent artists that are earning tens of millions of dollars a year on their music.
Right.
and doing the same touring. So they kind of go, why do I need to give up my rights if I could do this on my own? So I think the trend is really interesting. It's like democratizing access, but if you don't have a brand or a point of view,
discovery is really tough. And
discovery is tough. And the whole one-hit wonder thing happens way faster now than it did. Then you go and you leave just as, you leave as quickly as you came. So that's something that's a huge problem that we're experiencing, and I think we'll continue to experience.
And Don, is there a remedy to that? Is it just learning to work the YouTube system to its fullest while also having that point of view and just going past this, maybe this idea of, well, I'm a good musician, that should speak for itself, but really engaging?
Yeah, I think like to George's point, the disparity between the artist as the attribute that people are following versus the song exists differently on other platforms like TikTok versus YouTube, because again, YouTube has a multitude of touch points, not only from a content format standpoint, but from a discoverability and from a monetization perspective. So the ability to reach an audience in the way that they consume content that is authentic to your own brand and your ability to build that brand, I think exists in a superior way on YouTube than it does on other platforms.
Well, George, Donna, awesome and super interesting stuff. Thanks for educating the audience and taking the time out here, but great conversation here.
Excellent. Thank you for having us.
Thanks so much.